Well, good news for the beauty industry. Hair salons will now be able to operate. This was announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa last night. The industry has been closed since the beginning of the lockdown, and there have been calls from the industry pleading with government to allow them to operate. Well, the President says reopening dates are yet to be announced. Let's chat about the logistics of all of this with Mark Crisp. He's from the Professional Cosmetology Association of Southern Africa. Mark, good morning, and thanks for your time. Yes, certainly good news for many in the industry, but hopefully it's not too little too late for some.
Absolutely good news, Yuveka, but yes, sadly, it is definitely a little too late for some. I've been having calls for the past few weeks for people that have been, as I'm saying, not been able to sustain themselves. And unfortunately, a lot of our practitioners and owners have already given up, and they're not going to be able to open their salons, unfortunately.
Are you able to maybe just give us some idea, Mark, of at the moment, just off the top of your head, if we had to talk percentage, how many of them have had to shut down?
If I have to do a thumbsuck, I would say at least 40%, Yuveka. That would just be a guesstimate, but I would say at least 40% of people are not going to be able to reopen their businesses, because what's going to happen is once the announcement is made in terms of the date, people are not going to have financial resources to afford the PPEs and all the necessary protocols that will be put in place. And that is the sad reality with their outstanding rentals as well, and having had to pay staff. It's a major issue.
So for those who will be able to reopen, we're still awaiting a date on that. We're yet to hear from the relevant ministries as well as to what the restrictions would be. But yes, I would imagine you have an idea of what the basic requirements would be. Just fill us in there on what might be required of them to be able to qualify to reopen.
We've done costings in terms of that, so it'll basically be having to completely sanitize the salon, defog it and all of that. And our guesstimates have been probably around about 4,000 Rand, which is a very, very average figure, and it's a minimal kind of figure. No, because obviously it'll depend on the size of the salon and how they'll need to put in the social distancing protocols and stuff. So the minimum would be at least 4,000 Rand for a small salon. But obviously if the size is bigger, it's going to cost a whole lot more.
Okay, and I think let's just
talk. And there's also not the...
Do go on.
Yeah. I'm saying it's also not just a once-off kind of expense. It's going to have to be a continuous expense, unfortunately, in terms of PPEs and masks and all of that, because most of them are disposable. So it'll basically be a daily expense. So as new clients come in or clients come in every day, there's going to have to be new masks, new aprons, which is going to be very costly for our salon owners and our industry, Rebecca.
And just, for those of us who've been inside a salon, those who go regularly, just the day-to-day workings of that. I mean, are we going to be able to have, if it's a big salon, every hairdresser and their clients working every day? Is there going to have to be some kind of roster, a rotation to say, okay, you, Mark, and your 10 clients today, the next day will be Yuveka and her 10 clients? And also, are we going to have sanitizing done, obviously, after every single client has come through? It is going to take a lot of work.
What I see happening basically is just in terms of clients coming in, it's going to have to be strictly by appointment, and we're going to find that because of social distancing, the salons will probably have to cut their intake of clients by half, which basically impacts, because it's going to be half of the revenue for all these salons. So those are the other issues that we need to look at as well. We might have to look at extended hours for salons, where they, instead of starting at 9 o'clock, they'll probably have to start at 8 and maybe continue until 8 at night, so that they're able to break even at the end of the day, Rebecca.
Yeah, and I suppose that the big question out there, and we've been asking the question this morning, Mark, as well, is, yes, it is what many people have been waiting to hear, but how many South Africans are actually going to be brave enough, are going to go out and actually take advantage of this, get back to salons, as much as we've been complaining about it over the past couple of months. But I suppose, they want to know that they are going to be safe when they go there, that there is screening done before anyone enters there as well. So I suppose you as well have that responsibility to make sure that all of the salons adhere to what is required to make their clients actually feel safe, not just, sort of make government feel okay. You've allowed us to do this, and we're going to play by your rules.
I think, Vivek, as the beauty industry, we are totally committed to compliance and our safety, but also that of our staff and our clients. It's imperative to us that we keep that, because what would happen if we do not keep these protocols? We're going to find that we're going to be spreading the disease, and that's the last thing that we want as an industry or as a country. Our only worry is right now is the informal sector. Because there's been non-compliance from years back, and that's going to be an industry that we're going to have to focus on. There's going to be monitoring, and we're going to ask government to come in terms of that as well, and assist in terms of monitoring the informal sector, which is a large part of our sector, unfortunately.
All right, and I suppose, Mark, this might sound like a very simple thing to say, but it does kind of help that in that industry, you have the person working behind you. You're not actually in someone's face. You're not face to face. So there is that bit of safety that might be involved in that as well, although we mustn't take it for granted.
No, we shouldn't take it for granted at all. And as a professional industry, safety has always been, it's always been part of our curriculum. And if you go to any professional salon, our clients have always known that they are very safe, because it's a clean environment, it's a hygienic environment. So when it comes to that, I'm very confident that our people will abide and comply and raise the level in terms of COVID-19.
Does your organization, your association, will you be conducting checks as well? Is that within your power to do that, random checks on salons to see if they're abiding by the rules?
We do not have the power to do that, but what we have done as Picasa, Rebecca, is we've set up a handbook, and we will get involved with stakeholders. We're looking at partnering with manufacturing companies that manufacture hair products, so that a partnership can be. We've started a partnership where we are dealing with the education of training of these salons, but obviously there will be some monitoring. But as a body, we are not mandated to do that. That's a government mandate. It will have to come from government in terms of health protocols and all of that. But we will do our best as Picasa to assist with the assistance of our stakeholders to go and check on salons.
All right. Well, I think it's safe to say that they're not going to be short of business, even though they might be restricted as to how many people they can see. Thank you very much, Mark Crisp. I'm sure that the phones are already ringing to make those appointments, even if it's in a couple of weeks' time. Well.